I never found any difficulty finding good employees. So I always wondered why other people struggled with that.
Well, welcome back to the Off the Tools podcast. Today we have a very, very, very special guest, Adam Dennison, owner of TradeLink Recruiting. So Denny, as we call you, maybe help the viewers, bring them up to speed on maybe some of your experience and just maybe the trade industry and just a little bit more about yourself so we can get some context.
100%. Yeah, so started in the painting industry when I was in university, similar to you guys, worked for the same franchise. And then from there branched into to window cleaning after a few years. And I did that for a couple of years as well. And then obviously lots of stuff happened in between then and now. But what kind of brought me to the recruiting agency was just a common phrase that I heard all the time with other contractors. Luckily, my circle of close friends is also in the trades. So I would see lots of inside looks from different industries. And a big thing is just, I can't find good employees. Good employees are impossible to find is always the sentence I come back to. Just because it's copy and paste, everyone says it. And then after a while, I never found any difficulty finding good employees for my years in the franchise and the few years after. So I always wondered why other people struggled with that the same that I did. And when I started asking questions, I'd be like, oh yeah, I know they are kind of tough to find, what's your process right now? And people would just be blank. Oh, I'm supposed to have a hiring process. I thought just employees would fall into my lap and they'd be everything I would ever wanted, but that's just not the reality of the situation. So I realized there's probably a little bit of a gap in people's knowledge and a gap in the market that could probably be filled with the right service.
Mm-hmm. When you were looking into employees for people, what would you say in super overarching? And I know it really is a complex topic, but what's the top 3 qualities and traits that you're looking for
in employees?
Yeah.
Good question. Warren Buffett has a quote, a really good quote. I wish I could remember it exactly, but I'll give you some sort of an idea. It's you want someone with high intelligence, high resourcefulness or something, and high integrity. And if you don't have the third one, the first 2 don't matter. Mm-hmm. So the first one, the most important, is integrity. So when I'm going through the hiring process, I'm basically looking for 3 things. Testing them for how they communicate and just how they show up as a person. So just testing a little bit of their soft presence. And then before it even starts, I'm testing what time they show up. So I'm testing their punctuality and just not testing, but I'm just keeping an eye on it. So those are the 3 big things. And then I guess really authenticity is a big thing that I try to look for in people. That it's if you're trying to hire for the first time, it's definitely a little bit tougher to spot that. But with reps and hiring a bunch of people, you kind of develop some sort of a radar for it. But those are the 3 things, especially from the start of the hiring process, that I'm keeping an eye out for.
Well, forget about Warren Buffett. We got Denny here, so quote that.
Yeah, well, obviously Warren was able to hire a bunch of very good people to get him where he's at. So he's a good person to look at for what he looked for in people.
Mm-hmm. We were sitting in an agency kind of coaching session, and they mentioned that one of the tactics that they use when they're hiring is to obviously have a job description in terms of whatever platform you're putting that on or whatever, but then they'll put somewhere towards the middle, 2/3 the way down, reference the word pink elephant when you are applying for this job, so they actually read it. And they said it's not necessarily a criteria, but it's a good starting point.
Yeah, 100%. Thoroughness. I have the exact same thing in all the job descriptions that I make. I throw it right at the end. I say include an emoji in one of your application answers.
Nice.
So yeah, so that's funny. Yeah, it's a great tip. I think it's one of those ones where it's not an immediate filter. If people don't include it, I don't automatically disqualify them. but it's an extra bonus. Like, okay, this person actually went through the whole job description, got a real feel. because like every job description that I put out is quite thorough in like what we're looking for, what we're expecting. So I think it like eliminates a lot of unneeded conversation and questions if people could just read through the job description. Like you're way ahead in the qualifying process if they just like even know what they're getting into. But again, yeah, not a complete disqualification, but it's definitely a good tip to point out like the top 5% of people that are really taking it seriously.
Nice. I love that. It's such a small thing, but it's like you can definitely tell who's just applying to everything, and if they are, chances are they're not. They're going to be the applicant you're looking for. I think it also ties into kind of what I'm thinking. I always hear this from contractors, always talking about like there's just no good people out there, or like it's the economy and like there's everyone sucks. It's a generation. And it's like, well, no, like we saw that in our businesses, and there's tons of other contractors out there that have like crews on crews, like vans out there. Like if that was the case, then there wouldn't be anybody out there. Everybody would be like a one-man show. So what would you
100%.
say? What would you say to like contractors who think that there's just no good people out there nowadays?
To be like, my real answer is like I think it's just like a cop out from putting in the boring work. Like I think that's really what it boils down to. It's funny, like my brother has a window cleaning business, and the first employee he brought on was super good, like rock star. And you know, we went through the same hiring process to find him. And then as soon as we got him, he's like, oh, we'll never find another guy like that. Well, it's like, well, that just goes against the logic, because we did find someone like that.
Yeah.
So like, with the chances he's a 1 in a million, like not super likely. Like good people are out there. You just need to know how to find them. And ultimately, like what I've learned, it is mostly just a numbers game. Like you just need to be putting in the boring work, sifting through the applicants, trying to find like the top 1%. But if you're just waiting for employees to fall in your lap, like you're never going to find them.
Nice.
Yeah, and obviously you've ran multiple trades businesses. You kind of felt like you're like, oh, like I have some sort of, you know, I excel at this. You know, I find good people. I get how to find good people. What was maybe like a hard lesson to learn along the way that you could just hope that you could just tell everybody listening that, and it might solve their problem for hiring in the future?
Big lesson.
Maybe a red flag that you saw in a person, you look past it at first. You're like, you know, one and done time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was good. First thing that comes to my mind is like, you can't always be right either. Like you have to be willing to, you know, not be perfect when it comes to hiring, and ultimately do take some chances with people. But I guess like the biggest tip that I would give in that same domain, because you mentioned it, is not ignoring red flags. Because a lot of people are like, again, I think lazy, trying to fast track the process. They're like, oh, this person's like good enough, I'm going to just turn a blind eye to this one thing that was kind of weird and off-putting. But yeah, really not to be lazy in when you spot a red flag, or you get, you know, that weird thing that's like just talking in your head, like your intuition speaking to you. Like you kind of have to answer to that if you're really trying to find the best people. Because like, yeah, what I've realized is your intuition is right a lot more than you probably think it is. So if you get a weird feeling about someone, like you really have to trust that. So I guess like, yeah, that would be my one piece that would apply to everyone, is just like trust your gut. Like if you get a weird feeling about someone, don't ignore it.
That makes sense. I guess like for your business, because you ran a window cleaning business, painting. How many employees have you basically employed like with your businesses?
Mine personally,
Yeah.
close to 40.
Nice.
40 total. Yeah. For my own. Yeah.
Cool.
The first, I guess, problem when it comes to like recruiting is like obviously like finding the people and like all that stuff that goes into like sifting through good applicants, bad applicants, good interviews, bad interviews. But it's like once you get there as well, there's also a whole nother thing that comes into play, which is churn, right? Some people can hire a bunch of people, but then like they're only staying for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months at a time. So what sort of strategies did you employ maybe in your business to try and keep churn low and maybe morale high?
Yeah, I think like that's a common misconception in itself. Like I think a lot of people are, even if they find really great people and they leave after a while, they always think it's not them. But I would say like 80-20, like 80% of the time, it's just your business. It wasn't as good as you advertised it to be, or your processes weren't as good, or like you're not treating your employees properly. So I think a lot of that churn comes internally. And I think, again, going even deeper on that, I think a lot of the churn comes from a mismatch of expectations of people coming in to what they actually get. So I think from the employer side, you need to ultimately just be a person of your word and give the person who's taking a shot with your business. Because again, like when people are being hired to a business, it's a two-way sell, right? Like a business needs to sell the good people to come into their business, and the people need to sell themselves to you to bring them on. So you need to uphold your part of the bargain. Just like when you're interviewing people, a lot of people say like that's the best version of themselves. They're trying to sell themselves to you so hard right there that they need to be able to follow through on that later. But again, when you're making your job posting and you're bringing in people and you're trying to make or create this picture of how good your business is, like you need to uphold your end of the bargain too. And that's where I feel like a lot of mismatch of expectation comes from, and that's where a lot of churn ultimately comes from.
Yeah, we'll just come back to that, like expectations, and it's always going to be a two-way street, right? Like you have to hold on your end, and then you're right. Every time you do an interview, no one's going to come to you and be like, "Hey, I'm the worst worker ever." Just put that out there. It'll always be, "I'm the best version." Like, what are my weaknesses? I work too hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Classic, right? But
show up way too early to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, for the ladies and gentlemen listening, under promising and over delivering doesn't just stop when it comes to sales, right? Like it also continues when it comes to hiring your employees, because if you promise the world and all of the oceans to your employees, and then they get a pond, they're like, okay, what happened? What am I doing? Exactly. My girlfriend came home. She started working at a new restaurant, and they're desperately looking for people to hire right now. And she came home literally yesterday, and she's like, I can't believe the amount of people that show up to interviews late.
It's bizarre.
It's so bizarre. And then the head cook was like, I'm not interviewing you. You were late for your interview. And it was even funnier because people are flabbergasted, even as well to that. It's like, man, again, this is supposed to be the best version of yourself.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Like I know we mentioned a few minutes ago, like the emoji thing in the application, it's not an immediate disqualification, but even if someone's 1 minute late to an interview, it's pretty much they're gone unless they have like a very, very valid excuse. There's always like, I like not to even make exceptions, but there is something that pops up. But even then, if something pops up, if they message me to say like, hey, I'm going to be a little bit late, it's like, okay, that's cool. But if someone's late, again, this is the best version of themselves. If they can't be on time or early to their interview, like how much trust do you have them to show up on time for their 512th shift? Like not very high confidence in that. So
it is like super context, dependent too. I did an interview one time. This guy was 2 minutes late. I start off an interview. You're late. Why? Like, what's up? He's like, oh, like, my mom's super sick right now. I'm like, okay, fair. Like, your mom's super sick. I'm like out of curiosity, like, what's up with your mom? And he's like, oh, she has like a really bad cold. I'm like, come on.
Okay.
I'm like, you knew how you were painting it. Come on, get
100%.
out of here, right? But and that's where like my gut was telling me like, okay, and this is an interview, which means I get to interview you about anything that's coming up right now.
100%. Yeah, I think any of those questions are completely valid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, here's a fantastic one here, Denny. What are your favorite interview questions?
Favorite interview questions. So I go through a multi-level. So I do like pre-screen video calls to kind of like qualify people.
Yeah.
So would you like some of those?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Just tell us like where in the process it's happening and then like, what you're saying. Yeah,
this is kind of like first intro, just getting to know the people. So I go over a lot of the basic things, like do you have like for the trades, it's mostly like do you have a vehicle, do you have a license, all that good stuff, like super higher level stuff or basic stuff. And And then I asked them, one of my favorite questions is, if I was to talk to one of your previous employers, how do you think they'd rank you on a scale of 1 to 10 if they couldn't say 7?
Nice.
So if they can't say 7, they either, have to, and that's also one of my favorite questions to ask my reference checks. Because without, like, 7's the default, just like right in the middle, safe, like they weren't great, they weren't terrible, but they're like decent. So if you force people to go either way, they kind of have to justify themselves. And then my second favorite question is kind of like a bounce off of that question. If someone answers like 8, I would say, like, not a trick question. Why didn't you say 9 or 10? Because then they have to like justify where their weak points are in like a roundabout way, instead of saying like, what's your weakness? It's like, okay, why would you not rate if you can't even rate yourself a 10, why not?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's my other favorite pre-screen question. God, I have to pull it up. It's embarrassing that I can't even remember.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I mean, you've already given us a wealth of knowledge so far. I'm curious though, when you call reference checks, what's the percentage of reference checks that you got that are negative?
Okay, so here's the thing too. So I never call listed reference checks. I just call their previous employer, last. It takes a little bit more effort on our end, but like reference checks are just like the biggest load of BS, because they're handpicked people that are already going to say good things about you. Like, what we're really looking for is honest feedback from people that they've actually worked for in a work setting. So that's how you're going to get honest reviews. And I always make it sure to them that like they don't know that I'm contacting you, so you can be candid. And I'm not going to share this with them. I just need to know for myself, because I'm taking a risk with this person. That all I want is the truth.
Yeah, totally makes sense. I mean, you want to have like the main truth, right? If you have the ones just listed there, of course they're going to say good things, right? So
they've reached out to them before, like, hey, if this person calls you, is that okay? It's like, it's just waste of time to do that.
Yeah, you're prompt. You're not going to get the full story.
Yeah. So I never do that. I bypass go to their last employer. I don't go to their current employer. Like, if they're actively searching for something, I don't want to burn any bridges before it's like even started. But their previous employer, like maybe the one before that, if I got like a iffy kind of reference, but usually that even one iffy reference is kind of enough to kind of discard, in my opinion, if we're really looking for the best people.
Wow, that makes sense. And yeah, I love this like hiring wisdom from you, Denny. And I think one of the things that kind of goes through my mind is when you're having your hiring process, because a lot of contractors out there, I've talked to tons that just, it's like, yep, hey, someone phoned in, I'm just going to bring them out to the job site and test them out, because and if they're good, great. If not, that's fine. Like, you'll just leave them or even keep them on. My God. But like, what's the process that typically looks like for you back when you were running your contracting businesses? You don't have to go through like word for word descriptions, but like each phase. If you want to let our listeners know about that.
Totally, yeah. Again, a lot of the people that I've hired for myself and hire for my clients are like more or less entry level people. So I don't go too crazy with like 3-tiered, interviews. It's mostly just screening for like basic good qualities in coachable people. So obviously job description, source as many people as we can with a good job description. A lot of people don't put money towards job posting ads, which seems counterintuitive to me, because they don't shy away from putting money towards marketing. Or maybe they do. You guys will be able to tell me more about that. But,
they do sometimes, believe it or not.
Right. So basically from there, I'm just sourcing out people that are obvious no fits, like they live 2 hours away, all that good stuff. And then I try to pool together. Basically, it's a ratio. If I'm trying to hire for one position, I try to set up with 5 final interviews. And that usually boils down to about 20-ish pre-screen calls. So from the initial sourcing, I'll set up 20 video chats that are usually 15-ish minutes long, that I just go over basic requirements, get a kind of feel for their character, what kind of person they are, did they show up on time again, stuff like that. And then I funnel it down to 5 in-person interviews, where I go over a little bit more in-depth things with them to finally select like the 1 out of the 5. So yeah, so big source of people. Ideally we're trying to get like a couple hundred, pre-screening, let's say 20 of them, final interviewing 5 of them, actually taking 1 of them. So again, it's like I don't do anything particularly out of the ordinary, and nothing like super special. Like I think the processes, I do have in place, they work. But again, like I kind of said a few minutes ago, it mostly is just a numbers game and willing to hop on 20 calls to find that one good person.
I think if I was like, especially from this conversation, I wish we talked like 5 years ago here, Denny, because
Same.
like if I was going to go back and hire painters for my painting company, for instance, like the way I framed even hiring, and I had good results, I would say, with my hiring. But what I'm hearing, which makes so much sense for right now, is like all that work on the back end just makes the work on the front end, aka the interviewing, just so much easier and so much more clear what you're actually in for by the time you actually get to the interview. Like my strategy was get them to the interview, obviously some pre-screen, whatever, but then let me get to know you. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like let me try and see what's in your soul.
100%.
But all that pre-screen, all that reference check, talking to the past employer, it's like, man, like I feel like you already know who you're meeting by the time you meet them.
100%. Yeah, that's kind of how I view the final interview. Like after I've already talked to them, which I'll point out to you, I always do my pre-screens as a video, just to actually like get a somewhat simulation of a face-to-face experience to see what kind of person this is. And then once I talk to their past employer, it's basically you're just like justifying and trying to prove what you already know about this person in the final interview, or like give it that final check mark. But like you said, you already have a pretty good feel for who they are. And then you're more or less just picking your favorite.
I love it. I think on top of this too, just for any contractor listening out there, especially in your business, when you had someone that went through this process, right? And they were like a 10 out of 10, you brought them out, and they made it, they probably took a lot off your plate. So if you think of like those people and what they allowed you to do in your business compared to maybe if you had right at the beginning, people that weren't so great, and kind of how they hindered your business. Like if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Sorry, what was the specific question there?
Yeah, so like think of like someone that you brought onto your business that was like a 10 out of 10. You went through the hiring process, you're like, yeah, this person is just gonna crush it. And then later down in the production season, you're doing the work for clients. Like how did that 10 out of 10 hire really like reward you by being so thorough in your hiring process?
Yeah, I mean, like really good hires are all the difference in the world to your business. Like they really are invaluable. And it's not like good employees aren't a 10-20% increase or in productivity or efficiency or value to compared to like a B player. It's usually like 100% better, 150% better. So I mean, it's like it's always worth it to like Josh said, kind of front load a lot of that effort because it does pay off in the future. Because ultimately, the people on site in your business are the face of it. Like that's who's going to be interacting with your clients. That's what's going to be driving word of mouth. That's what's going to be driving reviews. That ultimately create the compounding in your business. Like you can funnel as much money towards marketing and ads as you want, but if you don't have the people there to justify the promises that you make to your clients and in your advertising, then it kind of all goes to, it's all worthless. So you need to have people that align with your values and stick up for them when you're not there.
I think something that's funny that like people look at more often is like they'll look at, for instance, like their marketing, and they'll be like, okay, look, I put $10,000 into ads last year. We did 200K from revenue after there. Now we have a 20x return on our ad spend. Fantastic. But something that I thought about, I think like my third year running my painting business, is I had the same PM every single year. But it's like, okay, what's the return on my project manager? Like that's a weird thing to start thinking about. And like how much money did technically my project manager make me? What's my return on investment there? Right? It's like people don't think on like ROI in terms of people necessarily, but it's true nonetheless.
No, I think that's why a lot of people don't put as much effort into hiring as they should, because it's way harder to track. It's way harder to track success. You can get your metrics on your ads, on your ad spend. You understand exactly what you're getting back out of it. But for people, it's like so much of it is intangible, which I think is just demotivating for people to put the time and effort into it, because like you don't know if you're right until maybe months down the line or a year down the line. So it is tough. I think that does demotivate a lot of people. But I think a lot of people think that and think, oh, it must not be valuable then, but it's quite the opposite. Hmm.
Yeah, no, it is quite the opposite. And I can't remember who said it, but it's like, it might be Hermosi. He always goes up as like, businesses are made up of people, which means people are businesses, which means if you have bad people, you have a bad business. Like what a novel idea, right? It's like
Yeah.
the quality of the people in your business is the quality of your business, right? It's so simple, like these universal truths, but
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't understand where like the disconnect comes, but in a sense, like I do, right? Because it's like I think it's so easy to forget about, and it's so easy to like push under the rug. I can get anybody to pick up a paintbrush and do a cut line realistically, but get anybody to care about the final product and actually, talk to the clients when they have concerns and, go the extra mile for me. It's like, okay, well, that quality of life just changed drastically for me.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. That's where all the difference is.
I think you're right, Denny. Like it all comes down to like the intangible, right? Like you can't really put a dollar amount to, the care they give to your clients, things like that, versus, marketing where it's like $1. Hey, you booked like 50K, but with someone like that saved you, hey, I didn't have to go to this job site today because my crews were taken care of. The clients love them. It's like you can't. How do you put a dollar amount to that? You just can't.
Yeah, it's so tough. And I think like that's honestly a good way to frame it. It's like instead of looking at it, what do they get you? It's like, what do they save you? They save you a lot of headache. And a lot of times, like there's been studies done before, like bad employees cost businesses $10,000-$15,000 per year in lost productivity, turnover, all that good stuff. But Josh, like you said, like just the headache of not having to worry about going to the site, like it's hard to put a price on that.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the maybe tactics or techniques that you employ to keep people, when you were running your business, around and happy? What did that look like for you?
That's a good question. I think it goes back to kind of what we started, just like making sure that you're fulfilling your end of the bargain. Like this is the actual workspace that they did sign up to get. And I think something small that I seem to think worked for me pretty well, is just showing genuine appreciation for everyone if they are doing a good job. I think that goes a long way. And maybe this is like a bias of mine because when I was growing up, I worked a landscaping job, like quite hard landscaping job, like 12-hour days, very strenuous. And like the thank yous were very, very rare. And when I got them, like it felt like a lot. It felt like, okay, I actually had a purpose today. So I try to push that forward a lot more than I got it when I was growing up, working, because I think appreciation goes a long way. If people feel valuable, they tend to stay around a lot longer.
It's stupid, dude. Like all it takes is a thank you.
It goes a long way, man. It goes a long way, and that's like a lot of this is. I like to say like it's simple, but it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, the steps that we take to find good people and hold good people, a lot of people understand with their intuition, and nothing's too complicated about it. But people still find a way to try to find shortcuts or just so yeah, it is interesting like that. Like nothing's too complicated about it. It's a simple thank you goes a long way, and some appreciation and just following through on what you said you were going to do.
Look at that. Doing the basics the best. Like
doing the basics the best. Yeah. Yeah. If you can do the basic things right, then you're ahead of 80% of competition.
Crazy. There you go.
Yeah, I think some of the things that I put in my business is like obviously like the thank yous go like a million miles, but like even like room to grow within the business itself, I think is so incredibly important, because if you have a painting company and they see themselves as a painter for the next 10 years, if they stay in the position in which that they are right now, what are the chances that they're going to stick around for the next 10 years? It's possible.
It's possible.
It's totally possible. But like, I would always say my painters, even like day one, my favorite thing to do on the whole planet is give people raises, because that means you're taking on more responsibility from me. And it's like, okay, let's break down what that does. Like it gives them some sort of clear path in terms of moving forward. And they know this guy loves giving raises. This sounds like a great boss.
I love this guy.
Yeah.
I think that's an important point too, and not just being open to it on your side, but actually laying out a clear path for them. Because it's like, yeah, we'll bring you on now at this wage and we'll give you raises down the line. It's just like, okay, how do I know how to get that? Or like, how do I know when I'm ready to take on new responsibility? So I think laying out a clear path for them is definitely important too.
100%.
Give them some sort of vision.
Yeah, 100%. If you don't know the goals of your employees, you're already at a loss. Like, you don't know what they're building towards. What do they want to learn? Like, there's so many different roles in a business, right? Like, they might not want to be a painter. Maybe they want to do more of the office stuff, or they want to do more managing. And like, if they want to do like more managing, for example, right? There's so many skills that they have to learn around like the communication, maybe giving them some more time with the clients, things like that will help them. No matter what, it's always going to be helping them. And if you don't have their goals to begin with, like, it's just such a miss.
And then business owners are wonder why people leave. It's like, well, you don't even know why they were here in the first place or where they wanted to go. So,
and I think you can give these opportunities like truly on a silver platter. Like, I remember I had one painter. They're like, hey, like, yeah, I've been working for you for 6 months now. Like, do you think I can get a raise? I'm like, 100%. Go pick up the check at the end of the job. Let's make this a reoccurring thing. And so let's bump you up like $1.50 an hour. Sounds good? Sounds great. First job, no check. Second job, no check. Third job, no check. You don't want the pay increase. No problem.
Guess you didn't want it.
Right? But it's like, I think like that's also a part of, finding the people that do want that pay increase. It's just giving people the opportunity to shine in the role that they are, and just like allowing them the time to excel and to earn more, because you really got to make it easy for them, because there are some fantastic people that just don't have the opportunity to do so.
Totally. Yeah, no, I love that.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to the Off the Tools podcast. We're going to have the info links for both Launchpoint Media and TradeLink Recruiting. If you have recruiting problems, save yourself the headache. Just go to Denny over here. He's going to make your life so incredibly easy. But anyways, we appreciate you all, and we'll see you in the next.